This is one shooting day. The Sony, the Osmo Pocket, and the drone, each with its own card. You know the ritual. New project, import, sort the bins, color the cameras, create the timeline. And the camera with the wrong clock to put back in line. Look at what's on the other side of this cut. Project created, one bin per camera, every camera with its own color, and not one timeline, but 3 to choose from. This one, for instance, every source on its own track, every clip at the time it was shot. I didn't edit that. I handed over the folder. One rule, and the rest follows. One subfolder per source. 3 of them here, the Sony, the Osmo Pocket, the drone, and the folder name becomes the bin name, the track name, and the hook everything else hangs on, as you'll see in a minute. So name them the way you name your cameras, not new folder 2. And if the footage sits inside the card's own folders, with their own subfolders, that's fine. The whole tree comes across. You'll find it in the Applications menu, under DaVinci Resolve Studio, Build from Media folder. And the first question on the form is the important one. Where does all this end up? First road. Inside the project you already have open in Resolve. I click Import Media in the current project and watch 2 things. Everything below grays out because there's nothing to create, and the button at the bottom changes its name. It now says Import Media. That's the road for when the project already exists and the card from day 2 just landed. Second road, and it's the one we're taking today because it's the typical start of a shoot. Create a new project. The name, and how to create it, 4 ways. With the default settings, from a preset you already have in DaVinci. From a template project, meaning a .drp file that gets copied and imported, or by hand, stating resolution and frame rate. I'll take the last one, 1080, 25 frames. Last row of the box, and it's new. The color science of the project. You get the 4 entries you'd find in DaVinci's own settings, YRGB, YRGB color managed, and the 2 aces. I'm picking color managed and not out of taste. In a moment at the bottom of the form, I'm going to tell each camera which color space it's shot in, and DaVinci only accepts that field in color managed. In its own interface, it's grayed out with any other choice. And from a script, it behaves exactly the same. Pick plain YRGB, and the project is still created, but that one piece won't stick, and the log at the end tells you, instead of leaving you to find out in the color page. Now the media. I picked the days folder, the one that contains the subfolders, not a subfolder. Import the media, and create 1 bin per subfolder. Your folder tree becomes the media pool tree, however deep it goes. Exclude the JPEGs, because cameras drop thumbnails in there and you don't want them on the timeline. And color the clips by source folder. It sounds cosmetic, and it's the thing that tells you at a glance, 3 weeks later, where a clip came from. Third section, and the 2 big new things live here. First, the sorting. In the dropdown, you get DaVinci's own properties, date modified, date created, file name, and at the top rec, which is ours. Rec means when you press the record button. It doesn't read it from the date written inside the file, which is what the camera believes. It works it out from when the camera finished writing the file, minus the length of the shot. Sounds like a nuance, and it's the difference between a right timeline and a wrong one, as you'll see 2 scenes from now. Second, the tracks. You don't have to choose. These are 3 independent checkboxes. The first gives you the timeline you always had, every clip in a row on a single track in the order you just picked. The second gives you the timeline with tracks, 1 per source. The third gives you that same timeline with the gaps taken out. I'm ticking all 3. Oh, and timeline starts at 00. Use it if the 1-hour timecode Resolve defaults to annoys you. Three checkboxes, 3 timelines, 1 import. The first is named after the project plus single track, the whole shoot in a row, the one you open to watch everything and choose. The second per source, every camera on its own track, every clip at the time it was shot. The day as it really went, waiting included. If you waited 2 hours between two shots, there are 2 hours of empty timeline. And the third, per source ripple delete. The same tracks with the gaps gone. Watch how it does it, because it's the part that gave me the most work. It doesn't pack the tracks one by one. That would wreck everything. It looks for the real gaps, the stretches where nobody was rolling. Those disappear, and everything after them slides back by exactly the same amount on every track at once. Clips that overlapped stay overlapped to the frame. Only the waiting is gone. At the bottom of the form, there's one row per folder, and this is where the interesting things happen. First column, the clock offset. My A7S III has daylight, saving switched off in its menu and writes every file an hour ahead. Leave it alone, and that camera lands an hour away from the others on the timeline. I write -1 hour, -01, then zeros, and it falls back in line with the other two. And here's something we found out measuring this very shoot. The Sony gets the time wrong in the date written inside the file, but it closes the file at the right time. That's why I had you pick rec earlier. That ordering looks at the file close time, so it doesn't get fooled, and it knows the offset must not be applied to it, or the correction would count twice. The log at the end says that too, camera by camera. Second column, the color. Instead of leaving auto, I decide orange for the drone, lime for the Pocket, green for the Sony. And the good part is that it remembers by folder name forever. Your S3 will still be called S3 next month with the same color and the same wrong clock. Last two columns, and they're the ones that save you the half hour after the half hour. Input color space. You tell the Sony it's shot in S, log 3. You pick it once here, and every future shoot from that folder comes and already interpreted. The other two stay on project, meaning nothing is touched. This is the field I mentioned earlier. It only works with color managed. And then the LUT, the one you want to see on that camera's clips. It's not a grade on a node. It's the clip's input LUT, so it holds on all three timelines. Now, the practical problem. These two fields are text, and the names are exact to the character. That's what these two buttons are for. The first opens the list of color spaces with a rule for writing them. You use the name from DaVinci's menu without the brand of the group, so Sony, greater than S, gamut 3 scene AS, log 3, is written without the Sony. The second opens the list of the LUTs installed on your computer, already written in the exact shape it needs. Open, copy the line, paste. There are 126 on my machine, and getting one wrong from memory is a certainty. Create project. First, it reads the metadata clip by clip. That's the bar you see moving, and it's the price of knowing when each shot really started. Then it works out the positions and hands the job to DaVinci. Project color science, bins, colors, color spaces, LUTs, tracks, and every clip on its frame. Underneath runs the script's real output, not a fake progress bar. When it's done, it opens a log for you, and it's more useful than it looks. Clip by clip, you get how long it is, whether it has video, audio, or both, what time it was shot, and where that time came from. And at the top of each camera, if its clock doesn't add up, there's the line that says so. That's where I found the Sony's hour of drift. And in the media pool, your 3 timelines. To recap, a folder with one subfolder per source, a form you fill in once, and what used to eat half an hour after every shoot becomes the length of a coffee break. A new project if you're starting, the open one if you're carrying on. You need DaVinci Resolve Studio because all of this goes through scripting on Windows. If script actions don't run, watch video 87. And if you're wondering how to do the same thing inside a macro instead of from a menu, That's videos 64 and 65. Subscribe, and see you next time.